Welcome to John S.'s Sports Channel, and it's week 1, League 2 predictions. And what we do here is we go through all the predictions that we can find, not that many for League 2, and then we have a look at the last game, which is a Carabao Cup for us all, and then I make a decision based on your predictions and on the level of play that we got in the Carabao Cup game, even if it is against someone 2 leagues above us. So let's start with Newport County versus Rochdale. Now, Newport played Wimbledon in the cup game, and Wimbledon equalised with 90 plus 7 minutes. And I think Newport would have been absolutely gutted. They played reasonably well, and I think they could have hung on here, but that was the point. They were just trying to hang on to that 1-0 lead. Just didn't happen. And then, of course, Wimbledon win it 5-4 on penalties. I think a draw was probably about right in that game. They did have a reasonable amount of shots on target, 5 for Wimbledon, 4 for Newport. And Newport, you've got to remember, they had 39% possession. So they were actually shooting on target relatively well, considering the amount of play that they were getting. Wimbledon were quite excessive on the possession there. Then we had Rochdale. It was Bradford 2, Rochdale 0. This was a little bit more uneven. Bradford really had the ball about the right amount of time. 52% for Bradford, but 23 shots. As soon as they got the ball, it was in the Rochdale third, and they were laying off a shot. Of those 23, 11 were allowed to be on target, but only 2 went in the net. Rochdale could have found this one a nightmare. It should have been, 3 or 4-0 at least this game. Rochdale, 9 shots, 2 on target from 49%. They really did show their midfield just collapsed and let Bradford in far, far too easy. That for me shows something that Newport County will be looking at, and what will they do about it? Well, what do you think? You're looking at 2-0, 1-1, 0-0, 0-1, 1-2 and 0-1. A fair few going for Rochdale. I'm actually going to go for Newport 2, Rochdale 0. I think that performance by Rochdale just didn't click for me as we go to Oldham versus Port Vale. Now, as we go to Oldham versus Port Vale, Oldham, it was Stoke City 2, Oldham 0. And both these teams had difficult games. 60% possession for Stoke City. You would expect that. I think that Oldham didn't have such a bad game as we thought they would do. 40% possession, 9 shots against Stoke City's 11, 4 shots on target against Stoke City's 3, but Stoke City got 2 in the net out of 3, and Oldham got none out of 4. So you can see, actually, if you look at the gameplay, Stoke City passed it a lot, but 60% possession, I suppose it's about right for the passing rate that they got. Oldham didn't really click as far as passing was concerned. Not many blocked shots either. Not many blocked shots. Although tackling, the best team for tackling was actually Oldham. So it's going to be interesting when they got the ball. Typical League 2 side, isn't it? Bang, tackle for it, and they were actually winning a fair few of those tackles. So that has to be taken into account. So that's the Oldham game. Port Vale, Wolves. I mean, come on. Wolves 3, Port Vale 0. And we would expect the same situation. We did 69% possession to Wolves, 16 shots, 7 on target, 3 in the net. Yeah, we expected that. But Port Vale, 31%, 11 shots. That is really, they're not afraid to shoot, are they? And they weren't last season. This is continuing, isn't it? This is continuation. 11 shots, 3 on target, none in the net. They would have been disappointed not to actually score one here. And I think that would have done well for their confidence. But coming away with 3-0, probably expected it. But that performance wasn't actually too bad. So what are we thinking here? Well, you're thinking it's Oldham versus Port Vale. 1-2, 2-1, 1-1, 2-2, 3-1, 1-1. I'm going to go with you. I did think about tipping Oldham to just nick it. That Stoke City 2-0 was actually pretty good. But then I looked at the Wolves game and thought, they did do well, Vale, didn't they? They really did. So I'm going Oldham 1, Port Vale 1. Who's next? It's Accrington versus Colchester. So let's go to Accrington versus Colchester, and it was Crewe 2, Accrington 1. And, it was a 50-50 game. Actually, this really should have been a draw, shouldn't it? Accrington actually played reasonably well. 50-50 in possession, 15 shots by Crewe, 16 shots by Accrington Stanley. Of those 15 by Crewe, 3 were on target, 2 in the net. That was it. That is all about this game. Accrington, 16 shots, 4 on target, and 1 in the net. Passing was pretty good in this game. Actually, this was a good game if you're a neutral watching the passing. The game was allowed to flow. It was actually allowed to flow. 357 passes for Crewe, 355 for Accrington, if you want the actual figures. And again, clear-cut chances, sort of 1 or 2 each. 3 block shots each. So, there were a few low shots that were just blasted roughly at the target here. So Accrington will be reasonably happy. I think they could have got a draw from that. I think probably should have. But Colchester, let's look at Colchester. Colchester played Southampton. It's Colchester 0, Southampton 2, and the first goal was at 72 minutes, which shows you what Colchester did. They defended really well. However, it wasn't just a parked bus. Colchester, 26% possession. When they did have the ball, though, 26% possession, 11 shots, 4 of them on target, not in the net. I mean, they could have freakishly got a draw from this. They really could. 74% possession, 25 shots by Southampton. But Colchester kept them enough out to only have 5 of those on target, 2 in the net. Yes, Southampton played their usual trick. 728 clear passes. 728. That's a phenomenal amount, but it means that they were just passing it around at the back and not quite getting it into a shooting position where they could get it on target enough. I say that really because they had 25 shots, so they obviously did get in the final third, but to a clear shot, not as often as they should have been. So that's all very good for the Colchester fans. I think that they really, if they can do that against Southampton, can they do it against Accrington? I think they can. They showed great resilience, this Colchester side, against a Southampton side. It was really good. Accrington didn't really fare as good as they should have done, and it was a bit of a meh result for them. What are you saying? Accrington, Colchester 2-2, 1-0, 0-1, 2-0, 1-1, 1-0. Most of you actually going for an Accrington win, but I'm going to go with the person who said Accrington 0, Colchester 1. I liked that game against Southampton. I think that could be a good point to start on as we go to Barnet versus Salford. So, Barnet versus Salford. Barnet played Cambridge United away. It was Cambridge 2, Barnet 1, and Barnet went in the lead for about 2 minutes or 3 minutes, I think it was. It's about 50-50 on possession, so actually Barnet did a good job against a side a league ahead of them. So really, they did well. And they were away from home. So Barnet here, 17 shots, 6 on target, 1 in the net. Okay. Reasonable passing. Cambridge United, though, at home, 13 shots, 7 on target, 2 in the net. It was just a game of who's going to get more of those shots on target in the net, wasn't it? Again, reasonable amount of passing. It wasn't really a game for the connoisseur. There's only one clear-cut chance for each team here, and a fair number of blocked shots. So it was mainly a case of getting that final there, just belt it somewhere at the goal, and hopefully it doesn't hit a player. Yeah, not a game for the connoisseur. Cambridge 2, Barnet 1. So that worries me for Barnet. Their skill levels are low. However, it was a better team that they were playing. So we have to take that into consideration as we look at Salford City. 1-1 home draw. Salford City 1, red card for Aimson on 90+7, and Shrewsbury Town 1, red card for Stubbs on 73. So it's an interesting match because Shrewsbury not expected to do that well by some people, and this season Salford didn't really make them pay for it either. 72% possession for Salford, 21 shots, 5 of them on target, 1 in the net. And Shrewsbury, 11 shots, 3 on target, 1 in the net. It's just this side seems to be able to shoot like mad, Salford, but getting it in the back of that onion bag just seems to be, or gaining in. I think it's the through ball, the actual ball that creates the goal that this team seems to be missing at the minute. So let's see, Barnet versus Salford City. I think it's actually going to be an interesting game. One of these teams could just do this, and I'm not sure which, because both of them, I didn't particularly like either of these games that we just looked at. I'll have to go with what you say. What are you saying? Barnet, Salford, 1-3, 2-1, 2-2, 4-2, 1-2, and 2-2 everywhere and anywhere. Look, we know if Salford can actually take some of these loads of chances and actually convert some of them, then I think it could be Barnet 1, Salford 3. That brings me on to my side, which is Cheltenham versus Rotherham United, and we'll go with what you're saying, because I can't be deciding on my side. I'll be biased, obviously. Last time out, we had Cheltenham lose 3-1 to Charlton, and actually, if you look at this game, it was all Charlton. We expected it. They did manage 46% possession, though, Cheltenham. They did 446 passes to Charlton's 546. This team actually managed to pass the ball in a game against a really good clinical team in Charlton. That in itself, to me, says this team can actually play the ball really well. Scoring, well, we can't tell because it's Charlton, isn't it? I mean, let's face it. Rotherham United played West Brom, and really it was Rotherham 1, West Brom 4. I mean, it should have been about Rotherham 0, West Brom 6, 7, 8. I think it could have been double figures. We only have to look at the stats. I think 71% possession for West Brom, 18 shots. They could have done a hell of a lot more, but they took the foot off the gas. 18 shots, 10 on target, 4 in the net. It was just manic. Rotherham managed 2 shots on target, I suppose, and 1 in the net. Passes, 294 completed for Rotherham, 750 for West Brom. They were just walking the park, weren't they? And that worries me. So both teams got probably what they expected, a 3-1 defeat for Cheltenham, 4-1 defeat for Rotherham United. But what are you saying? Because we're going to go with you. It is my side. 1-2, 0-2, 0-2, 0-2, 3-1 and 0-1. Yeah, we're going to have to go with what the majority of you say, and we go Cheltenham 0, Rotherham 2. But I've got a question mark on the guy that said Cheltenham 3, Rotherham 1. You might just get that one. Let's look at the next game then, which is Chesterfield versus Fleetwood. And holy camoly, what was the last game? It was Fleetwood versus Chesterfield. No kidding, it was. So let's have a look at that game then. Fleetwood won, Chesterfield 0 last weekend. Chesterfield 70% possession, 15 shots, only one on target. Only one on target. Fleetwood really defended really rigorously here, but with 30% possession, 5 shots. They didn't particularly park the bus and stay there, but it was pretty much that. 2 shots on target, 1 in the net, and that's it. They happened to win it. This was a fluke win. Let's face it, Fleetwood fans, with the amount of possession Chesterfield had, they should have flattened that Fleetwood side, but they didn't. Hey, they didn't. So what are you saying? It's Chesterfield Fleetwood this time. 1-1, 2-0, 3-1, 3-0, 1-3 and 2-1. And I'm going to go somewhere in the middle of that. And we're going to go with Chesterfield 2, Fleetwood 1. I do think that Chesterfield will convert some this time. I hope so for the Chesterfield fans' sake as we go to the next game, which is Crawley versus Crewe. So what happened last time out? Crawley lost away at Watford in the 90 plus 9th minute. So how did this game go? Well, actually, Crawley didn't pass that badly. It's just that Watford passed a lot better. They had better skill levels, obviously. 61% possession to Watford and 36 shots. They were just hammering it, weren't they? But 11 of them were on target. So this Crawley side really had no answer to this side. And it's just by the look of God that the Watford scored 1 out of 11. That's not like them. I think they did. And 90 plus 9. I mean, it was rigorous defending by Crawley, believe it or not. But Watford just ended up trying to blast the ball. I mean, 3 of them were 13 of their shots were blocked. 13. So basically, Watford was just going in that final third. Whack! Just hit it. Go on, just hit it. Let's just have a good go at it. And it nearly backfired, didn't it? Crawley there thinking, 39% possession, 9 shots, 3 on target, none in the net. They could, with that haphazard way that Watford were playing, they could have actually got that one. They could have done it had they just had a little bit of nous to take them on the break. Crewe Alexander went to Accrington Stanley, and it was Crewe 2, Accrington 1. We've covered this one, of course, just earlier on. It was sort of, I suppose it realistically was Crewe won it, but it was more of an even game for me. Pretty much spot on everywhere, including both sides having a good passing game between them. It was a good game of football, good one to watch. 3 shots on target for Crewe, 2 in the net, 4 shots on target for Accrington, 1 in the net, and that is the story of that game. That was a good game. Accrington's game was actually a good game, and that makes it difficult for me because I don't think there's going to be many goals in this. I really don't. And you're saying the same. So what are you saying with Crawley versus Crewe? 0-1, 1-1, 0-1, 0-0, 1-1, 0-2. I really don't think there is going to be many goals in this one. 1-1 or 0-0. I'm going to go for Crawley 0, Crewe 0. As we go to the next one, which is Gillingham versus Walsall. So last time out, Gillingham faced the oblivion at Luton Town. I mean, they've been really getting better and better each year. This team, Gillingham 0, Luton Town 3. But Luton didn't come into it really until the second half, I think, here. And Gillingham, Luton didn't come into it till the second half. Gillingham actually did have. They started quite well for me. 34% possession, 7 shots, 2 on target, none in the net. And then they just seemed to just drift out of it as Luton decided that they'd put the pressure on. Luton eventually gained 66% possession, 17 shots, 11 on target, 3 in the net. and almost twice as much passing by Luton Town. But with 252 passes, Gillingham weren't shy of a good pass or two. Even having a couple, 2 or 3 shots blocked. So Gillingham weren't afraid of having a shot. It just wasn't going to go in the net. So, look, it could have been a lot worse. It's a good Luton Town what they played, but not on the day. Walsall actually won Bristol City, and Bristol City have been playing really well. And have done some good transfers. Bristol City, 72% possession, 32 shots, 9 of them on target, none in the net. That is not good. Did Walsall make them pay? Absolutely. On 47 minutes, Aaron Presley managed to get the winner. 8 shots from 28% possession. 5 of them on target, 1 in the net. That's how you win a game of football. 277. Look at this. 12 of those shots by Bristol City got blocked. What did I say in the game before that? In one of the other games? Just hammering it. It was Watford game, wasn't it? Just hammering it and having them blocked can backfire. It did here. Bristol City just get into the final third, blast it somewhere at the net. Yeah, didn't work. 12 of them got rebounded. Not the way to play. You're risking it, aren't you? Watford, it worked. Bristol City, it didn't. So, Gillingham versus Walsall. Walsall riding the luck there against Bristol City, winning 1-0. Probably didn't expect it. But imagine the amazing feeling those fans had walking home or driving home, from Bristol City. They'd have been over the moon. Gillingham Walsall 0-1, 1-0, 0-1, 0-1, 1-3, 0-0. I'm going to go with the majority here. Gillingham 0, Walsall 1. Thank you very much for your predictions there. Do help indeed as we go to Grimsby versus Exeter. I've got a feeling this is going to be difficult, because these two teams for me both expect to be up there. Grimsby 1, Blackpool 3 in the cup, and Grimsby 90 plus 2 minute goal there too. That's a consolation goal for them. 50-50 on possession, and no, Grimsby really should have won it. Grimsby should have won this one. 13 shots, 8 on target, 1 in the net. Just not quite good. Look, you can tell Blackpool are a league above, because it was 10 shots, 4 on target, 3 in the net. That does show the back end of Grimsby to be a little bit iffy here. But what about Exeter? Because we do have to look at Exeter, don't we? Exeter lost away at Plymouth, and they had Ethan Sutherland sent off on 87 minutes. Plymouth 2, Exeter 0, and their goals, Plymouth 90 plus 2 and 90 plus 4. You can tell when you look at the figures here. Plymouth had 63% possession, 21 shots, 6 of them on target, which isn't bad. And Exeter with 1 red card near the end, 8 shots, 1 on target, none in the net. Now, Exeter's passing was pretty poor. A lot of them went awry. A lot of them got intercepted. It wasn't a great game for Exeter in that sense. And also Plymouth, they did tend to have 1 or 2 extra, I think about 6 or 7 blocked. So they did sort of try and get those balls, those shots placed rather than whacking it. But occasionally they were prone to just whacking it against the defence. This wasn't a fun game. If you're an Exeter fan, certainly not. It was a deserved score, wasn't it? So what do we think? Because Grimsby here, I didn't like that, but I didn't like the Exeter one more than I didn't like the Grimsby one. So I can't see many goals in this. What are you saying? Grimsby, Exeter 1-2, 1-2. 2-2, 2-1, 1-3, 1-0. all over and on the fence. You don't seem to know either. I'm just going to go with the one I think is closest to the number of goals I'm going to see in this game, which is Grimsby 1, Exeter 0, as we go to Northampton versus Swindon Town. I want this Northampton-Swindon Town game to be a lot better than it looks like the Grimsby-Exeter game is going to be. Northampton played Leicester City, and actually they only lost 1-0. Leicester 1, Northampton 0. And I tell you what, Northampton 77% possession, but Leicester 77% possession. I bet they wished it was. Only 8 shots. And only 3 of them on target and 1 in the net. Now, Leicester did that last season to 1 or 2 shots and 1 or 2 goals. Literally. So I'm not surprised at 3 shots on target and 1 in the net. However, Northampton defended very well. It shows in the fact that they had 23% possession. It shows in the fact they had 4 shots, 2 of them on target, none in the net. They could have walked away with a draw here quite easily. However, the clear-cut chances really went to Leicester City. There weren't many block chances, but I tell you what, the tackling here is the big figure. That Northampton Town, they won the most tackles. They actually won the most tackles. They're really good on tackling. As soon as Leicester came anywhere near that back end, they were tackled, and they would actually win the tackles. They weren't just tackling it just for the sake of they're in the final third, everybody descend on them. Typical League Two style. This was actually planned, and it was good football, good defending, and good tackling by Northampton Town. So we go to Swindon next, and Swindon played Cardiff. An interesting game, this one, wasn't it? Cardiff 3, Swindon 2. Debayo sent off on 90 minutes for Swindon. Again, sort of 13, 14, 15 shots for both of them. It's 61% possession for Cardiff, 15 shots, 4 on target, 3 in the net. That is a good class act, isn't it? And we expected it for where they are in the leagues. Swindon Town, 39% possession, 13 shots, which is not bad considering, they only had 39% and Cardiff did tend to pass it around between themselves very, very effectively. 13 shots, 1 on target. It was own goal, the other one, so 1 on target, 1 in the net. You can't ask for more than that, can you? 7 block shots each, so there was a bit of just wellying it at the net here. The passing for Swindon wasn't bad either. I'm trying to get the tackles. Reasonable tackles from both sides. So it was actually a good game of football. Really. It's just that Cardiff managed to just do some more of the longer, steady passes, and it worked. I think on a different day, that 3-2 could have been easily a draw or gone either way. So that was a good game by Swindon. That's going to make it really... that's going to make it hard, isn't it? That was a good Swindon performance. But it was a really good Northampton defence. Ooh, that's going to be really hard to predict. Northampton, Swindon then. I'm going to have to go with you lot here. 2-0, 0-2, 2-1, 2-3, 2-2, 1-1. Well, that really does scupper that one, doesn't it? Well, shall I do a coin? Northampton 2, Swindon 0. That defence really was impressive. Tranmere versus Shrewsbury next then, and we'll have a look at the next to last game. Tranmere played Rochdale 2-2. Tranmere 2, Rochdale 2. Now we were thinking Rochdale would be some of us were thinking Rochdale were going to be quite poor this season. Didn't end up like that, did it? 72% possession for Rochdale away at Tranmere. Only 8 shots though from that, and only 2 of them on target, but 2 of them in the net. that is worrying, because you do, if to get anywhere near that top half, you're going to have to score goals. You're going to have to make more of 72% possession. You have to. 626 passes by this side, the Rochdale side. Tranmere Rovers, though, 15 shots. From 28% possession, 15 shots, 6 of them on target, 2 in the net. They would have been gutted that they didn't get more. Even though they only had 242 passes, almost a third of the amount of passing for Tranmere. When they did have it, they did better with it. Clear-cut chances, 4 to Tranmere, 1 to Rochdale. I'm trying to look at the actual tackles. About the same, 10 and 7. So it's interesting that you got Rochdale not really doing as much with the ball when they got it, and they should have done an awful lot more. And Tranmere didn't get flustered. That's the thing for me. Tranmere not getting flustered. Shrewsbury Town versus Salford, and it really does make it really hard for me, this, because Shrewsbury Town, everybody was writing them off. And then certain fans said, no, I think you got it wrong. I think Shrewsbury are going to be a lot higher than what you're thinking in the bottom 4. I think you got it wrong. And then we saw this game. Salford won, Shrewsbury won. Will Amerson for Salford, 90+7 red card. Sam Stubbs for red card for Shrewsbury, 73. And I tell you what, the fans were coming out of this saying, Shrewsbury didn't do too bad. Shrewsbury actually didn't do too bad, and they won 4-3 on penalties as well. Shrewsbury against what was planned to be a really, really good team here, Salford City. They really did do well, Shrewsbury. Okay, Salford, 72% possession, 21 shots, 5 on target, 1 in the net. Reasonable. 620 passes. They were really passing it around well, and getting into the final third, and having shots laid off. But the Shrewsbury side managed to somehow, by hook or by crook, get them out. 8 corners as well for Salford. They were really putting them in, but they were being dealt with by Shrewsbury. Absolutely. Tackling, well, if I can find it. Shrewsbury Town's tackling was absolutely brilliant. 2 or 3 times as many tackles won by Shrewsbury than Salford. This was a side that people came out from Shrewsbury, certainly fans were saying on the internet, we played well. Actually, we played well in that. The 1-1 scoreline at the end doesn't really show you how well Shrewsbury played against a really good Salford side. So they really did rock this one, Shrewsbury, and I think that will the win there, I think, will certainly lift the atmosphere there. And we've got Tranmere versus Shrewsbury. Then what are you thinking? 1-1, 2-1, 1-0, 0-3, 1-1, 1-3, 0-1. So if I sort of go around the averages there, I think I agree. I think it's going to be a close call, this. I really do think it's going to be a close call. I don't think you're going to get a side scoring 3. I'm going to Tranmere 0, Shrewsbury 1. As we go to York City versus Crawley for the York City result. York City Bristol Rovers. Yeah, York City Bristol Rovers. York City played Crawley in the Cup. York City 0, Crawley 2. Trying to get everything ahead of saying it so that I can speed it up a little bit. York City 61% possession here. They really did control this game. 11 shots, pretty good. 2 of them on target, not so good. And none in the net. And Crawley made them pay for it. 39% possession from Crawley. 8 shots. 5 of them on target, 2 of them in the net. At the end of the day, Crawley made them pay for it. Absolutely. So York City didn't take the chances, didn't make enough clear-cut ones either. Against a Bristol Rovers side who we've been saying are going to be a good outfit this season. And it was Bristol Rovers 0, Peterborough United 1. Peterborough here played a lot better than what people were thinking. Another team that just doggedly defended And it worked for them. They actually nicked the win. Bristol Rovers 0, Peterborough 1. Bristol Rovers 46% possession, 20 shots, only 4 of them on target. And Peterborough 54% possession, 9 shots, but 3 of them were on target and 1 was in the net. So that's it at the end of the day. Peterborough had slightly more passing opportunities. They did pass a little bit more. That side of it was okay. It was a pretty decent football game for passing. Bristol Rovers did tend to blast it at the net. They had 6 block shots against Peterborough's 1. So that does show how they were just wellying it to the middle of the box. But Bristol Rovers actually tackled. That 16 completed tackles against Peterborough's tackles 1 of 7. So you can tell here that Peterborough just defended and tried to just grab it as soon as it was put in the box or shot into that final third, because that's about all they ever got. But Bristol Rovers just couldn't break it down. They couldn't break down this Peterborough back end. But it is a side a league above. So, we could possibly expect that. But with those 20 shots, surely this has to be one of those things where eventually it'll crack. Eventually it will work. What are you thinking? Are you thinking that this Bristol Rovers ability to shoot will succeed this time out? York City, Bristol Rovers to finish 0-2, 1-1, 1-1, 0-2, 3-1 and 1-0. Well, I'm going to go with I've gone with the teams always overturning this lack of ability to turn shots into goals, because I'm going to go with York City 1, Bristol Rovers 1. Thank you for watching. Do like and subscribe if you've enjoyed watching it, because there will be more content out, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video, or even in the live on Saturday. Thank you. John S. Sports Channel. Like and subscribe.